scientists, how are you today? And I guess you figured out what we're going to talk about today. I have a friend of mine here that wanted to come on the show, and this is my corn snake, and that's his name is Cornbread. And he wanted to say hi because he's part of the food chain, even though we don't really eat snakes, but other animals eat snakes, okay? But we're not going to eat cornbread because cornbread's a nice snake. All right, he's a pretty long snake, and I want to just talk to you briefly about him. I've had him for over 16 years, okay? And he is about maybe 3.5 feet, maybe 4 feet long. And he sheds a lot because when you shed in a snake's world, you continue to grow a little bit, all right? So here we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a moment to go ahead and put him away, so because he doesn't really want to hear about animals that might eat him, okay? So we're going to put him away, and I've got a container that we're going to put him in, so I'll be right back. All right, so let's talk about food. I love to eat food. How about you? Oh, I bet you do. Well, one thing is very, very important to have, okay? Without this object, we cannot eat food. We cannot have food, okay? And that object is the sun. The sun has to produce the rays for the plants to live. And so when we talk about green plants, they go through a process called photosynthesis, and they make their own food, okay? And so these are producers. They're producing the food for us, all right? And here on this board, we talk about the food chain. We also have what we call food webs. And we'll talk about that in a little minute. But I want you to focus on this one because this kind of is a pyramid, and it shows us it starts with green plants, okay? And the green plants are making food for us. And the first primary consumers are that eat plants, grass and leaves, are normally insects, okay? So we have different types of consumers here in the primary level. These happen to be grasshoppers. And then we have the secondary consumers. And those are now rodents. They can be rodents, different animals that can feed on grasshoppers. Okay? Now the energy from the plants goes first to the grasshopper. Then the energy from those consumers goes to the next consumer that eats them. And the energy from that consumer goes to another one. Now notice we have an eagle at the top, okay? And there's not very many animals. There are some animals that will feed on eagles if the eagle is injured, but there's very few that will really feed on them. So they're called the territory consumer, okay? So they are flying high, and most of the time, vultures will feed on eagles if they're dead. All right? Okay. So now, let's take a look over here. And I've got a lot of different activities that you can do at home, or maybe your teachers, if teachers are watching. These are little activities that you can do. Here we have a chain, and in the song it says chain of food. Okay, and that's what this is. It will start with the sun, and then we have the producers, which sometimes can be in the water. It can be algae and things like that. We have a tadpole here. A tadpole loves to eat that food. And then we have a fish that eats a tadpole. And then last, we have a bird that will eat the fish. So those are one direction, okay? And that's what a food chain is. All right, here on this side, we have in the ocean. I like to always talk about that because I just love the ocean. I think it's amazing, that environment. But here we have some animals that are living at the bottom of the sea, and we have shrimp and crustaceans that feed off of that. And then we have crabs, and we have little minnows and things like that that will pick up energy from that. Here we have a fish that will feed off of crabs and minnows. And then we have like a dolphin. And lastly, we have a shark. Now, of course, we have other animals that will feed off of sharks and things like that. So we have many different animals that will always live because of this first level, okay? Here we have outdoors, we have green plants, little grasshoppers, flies, bees, some other insects, and then we have some reptiles that feed off, and the bird, of course, will feed on snakes, okay? Now, when we talk about these type of animals, some of you might say, well, I don't need any of those animals. Well, we do, you know, and we eat a lot of chickens, and we eat poultry, turkey. We also have seafood. So when we eat, especially here in Florida, we eat a lot of seafood, right? Okay, and so we have different activities there. Let me go over this little activity in front of me. This is all mixed up. So can you put this in the correct order? What would go first here? Is it correct? Okay, let's see. Yes, is that a producer? Yes. Okay, well, what's the next one that's going to feed off of grass? Is it a snake? Is it a lizard? Is it a grasshopper? Or is it a bird? Well, the best choice, what do you think it is?
A snake.
It's a lizard. Okay? Not really. It's a grasshopper. Ha ha! Got you there. Okay. Now, this is interesting because a snake can feed off of a grasshopper. But a lizard can also feed off a grasshopper. And then a snake would feed off of a lizard. And what's the last one? A bird will feed off of a snake. Now, can a snake feed off of a grasshopper? Yeah, it could. It could do that. All right, which leads me off to food webs. Food web, but think about a web like a spider web, right? Have you ever seen a cool spider web in the mornings? Oh, that is so cool when the dew hits it. Now in this time of the year, we'll have a lot of those webs around. And it's so cool to see that because you can actually see how it was built, okay? Now, we're going to go ahead and what we're going to see, this is a food web. Here is the producer, the grass. The grasshopper eats off the grass and gets energy. Look what eats off of the grasshopper, the lizard. Look what eats off of the lizard, the hawk. Okay, now the hawk is going to be the top consumer. Okay, over here the grass is also eaten by mice. And the snake eats the mouse because that's what cornbread eats. He eats mice. And the hawk eats the snake. But the mouse can be also eaten by the hawk. The rabbit can be eaten by the hawk. The grasshopper can be eaten by the hawk. So in a food web, it goes all different directions. Just like if you're traveling on the interstate. And there's all different roads, and they'll take you basically to the same place, okay? All right, so these are different activities that I hope you have fun with. You can use little cups for this. I use, because we have so much now, bathroom tissues, that I use some of the rolls for that. And so you can do that activity. You can also make your own. And this is one of the challenges that I'm giving you to do. How many food chains can you make from this food web? Okay, and so we have a green plant with a flower. We have a mouse, a snake, eagle, and a rabbit. How many different food chains can you make from that web? Remember, a food chain is one straight line. Okay, one straight line. And it could be 3 things. It could be 4 things on there. It could be 5 things on there. Okay? All right, have fun with that. And if you want to share your answers with me, you can always have your parents write it or your teachers write it on the comment on the Facebook. And you can show me pictures of it if you like. And that'll make me really happy. All right. Well, I think that's what we're going to close today with. It's important for you to take care of the environment so that our plants can stay green and that it can produce food for us and give us energy. Okay? Have a wonderful time. I'll be back next week with another great science lesson. And I want to give a big shout out to Miss Wilson because she told me that her class was studying food chains, food webs, animals, and plants. So I just was so thankful for her to share that with me, and I thought I'd put it on the show today. Have a great day, and remember, science is everywhere, and Miss Rotolo is somewhere.